Hey there, I'm Georgie with Ukraine Matters. By this point, I'm pretty sure you're aware that Russia has released a massive missile strike against Ukraine. Especially, it was a strike against the civilian infrastructure. It was over 80 cruise missiles and some tens of kamikaze drones that are Iranian produced that's been released throughout the country. They were hitting civilian infrastructure, they were hitting just random places within the city. They were also trying to hit energy network and notable architecture monuments. So trying to essentially hit Ukrainians in some kind of a symbolic meaning places to kind of hurt the population of Ukraine and try to terrify it as much as possible. And obviously, it was staged as a payback for the Crimean Bridge, right? The Crimean Bridge was recently blown up, and we were expecting when it's going to be response from Russia. And the interesting part is that it was all predictable. Right as the bridge was blown up, in my video, I actually talked about that. Most likely what we're going to see is a massive strike with the missiles against Ukraine. And this is indeed what we saw. What I was expecting, though, that most of these, if not all of the missiles, would strike, like energy networks, railway stations, things that are maybe not directly, but at least somewhat linked to the war effort. However, what we saw was basically, as I describe it, as just a pure PR show. Because most of these missiles didn't hit jack shit. There's been some missiles that hit, yes, some electricity substations, some of the power plants, yes, but they're not being repaired. And when people in the morning told me that they had no light and no power, then now some of them reporting, yes, I have some of it returned. Sometimes then it goes back and forth and so on. So it hasn't been to the point that it's completely gone. And we need to understand that while it is horrific that these missiles are flying in and their death that is following those missiles, especially the civilian deaths, like obviously kids. We saw this missile strike areas like playgrounds where kids supposed to play. They were landing near the university. On my Twitter, you can just go there. I post the videos. There was a girl that was just a student that was walking past her university and the missile landed just right next to her. There is another videos where the girl just was filming some kind of video and then it was all fireball and like the video just broke. But we need to understand that it's been receiving just additional coverage because they struck Kyiv, where most of the reporters are and where most of the media and foreign effort is concentrated. These strikes, while not as frequent and not as massive that they happened at the same time, have been happening throughout the country. Cities like Mykolaiv have been struck every day. Zaporizhia was struck just yesterday and day before. Dnipro receiving missile strikes almost every day. Kharkiv has been bombarded for over 200 days. Ukrainians are obviously afraid. No one likes to be living under missiles, and that's an understatement. But it is not changing the war. We need to understand that what is happening right now is basically he tried to maybe sell it as a intimidation, terror against the civilian population, start negotiating with us or we're going to kill more civilians. But more, it was sold to the Russians just because they're this desperation that they were experiencing after the strike of Crimean Bridge. That, oh my God, they struck the Crimean Bridge, we need to pay them back. And now in their Telegram channels, they are completely bathing in a civilian blood of the Ukrainians that died or got injured during these strikes. They are dancing around that we should strike more, we should strike every day. But the truth is that the actual war is not happening in the public space. Russia, as I've called it every time, is a pretend state, and they're doing the pretend war again. They are losing the war on the ground. While the strike against the Crimean Bridge was highly symbolic, that what it meant, we need to understand that first and foremost, it was also important, the most vital, important military achievement. It has strategic military significance. The strikes against Ukrainians do not. It's a pure terror intimidation tactic, and just to get some PR points for the falling Putin regime, because the Russians got a little bit too depressed with having a loss after loss after loss. And we need to understand that also that the losses will start appearing again for the Russians, because these strikes, they do not change the situation on the ground. Ukrainian forces keep advancing as I speak. Russia will lose more territories than they gain. More Russians will die in the coming days. The strike that Ukraine will hit back is going to be precise, military, and it's going to hit hard. Russians are going to lose everything. They do not win this war. Missiles do not capture cities. And if you're afraid of, well, with the coming winter, the Putin can just repeat the strikes and then he will freeze the Ukrainians. There is nothing that's going to happen with the Ukrainians. Ukrainians, for example, in the outskirts of the cities, more often than not, have some kind of a option to use wood to heat themselves. The other ones, in the cities, we need to understand that Ukraine is a country with nuclear power plants. And unless Putin is ready to nuke the power plants or destroy the power plants, then this country is going to sustain itself. Yes, maybe with some turn-offs, maybe some changes, maybe just partial energy supply, but there will be an option to adjust. There is nothing that missiles can change about that. Moreover, I'm pretty sure that even if we're going to be able to then sustain from European Union, Poland, we might share some of the power. And again, a lot of people have been sent also over the country's border, so Ukraine will not need so much electricity as before. So all in all, while it is extremely uncomfortable and dreadful for Ukrainians to receive these strikes every day, the missiles that Putin is using are super expensive. They don't have that much of them anymore. What is being sent right now is basically like for the final days. They're like the last things that should never be touched. And they're sending them over because of the pettiness of Putin. Ukraine has also showed massive capabilities of countering the missiles. Over 55% of missiles that were sent were shut down. That is massive. Anyone who has seen how anti-missile system work will say to you that 55% is a lot. So basically, Ukrainians are essentially doubling the cost for every single missile Russia launches. So if they want to hit anything specific, they will need to dedicate more and more missiles towards it. And now, with additional Germany has said that they will deliver the Iris-T anti-air systems. I'm pretty sure other anti-air systems will also get delivered. The current strike obviously will hurt Ukrainian morale a bit. But as the ground situation will turn slowly, surely again to Ukrainian favor, the morale will lift again. And we will see as Ukraine will just continue powering through. And the only thing I would ask you to do is, if you feel emotional reaction from these missile strikes and the videos of this, use those emotions. Use them to try to do something for Ukraine. There is a great charity that is running right now. I'm going to link it in the comment section, of the video description, where the Ukrainians are getting some of the money for the drones of their own. Or just try to share and like this video so more people see it. The point is, as dreadful as this is, Ukraine is going to prevail. Putin is losing this war, and there is nothing he can do. He is in blind anger, and he cannot do nothing but to send some missiles on the civilian population. But the Ukrainian army is coming. And the day when the last Russian will be removed from the territory of Ukraine is also coming closer every day. Slava Ukraini!